up, everybody?
Hi, guys. Welcome back to Occultists Anonymous and Into the West episode. I can't remember what number this is. Oh, that's true.
169.
No, a little bit less than that, but it's like 49 or something like that. If I'm wrong, in the YouTube comments, remind me what number we're at. Special thanks to everybody who supports
an improvised spell of rhyme with the practice of making. The truth is, it's episode 169.
I really should do that. It'd just be this, and everyone's like, hang on, I feel like I've missed something. We're not going to do that, YouTube guys. You can see it's there. It's fine. Special shout outs to those who support us, are those who are subscribed on YouTube, people hanging out in Discord, and of course a special thanks to our Patreon members who support us monetarily. Thank you to Adele, Alice, Al, Alexander, Alsred, Bernie, Buck, Chris, Doc, Emil, Ethan, Jeff, George, Yanthe did nothing wrong, I am the real 06, James, John, Camo, Catfeathers, Klaus, Milo V3, Moku, Mozart D minor, Noctal, Other Guy, Perry, Food, Polkadot, Hubris, Porter, Puppeteer, Riafio, Sean, Shaksara, Starfish, Taryn, Thomas, Verhext, Vincent, Vortex Falcon, and Zoltan. Thank you all so much for your support. It means a lot to us. It's very cool to see those new names mixed in with veteran names. Always kind of, it's fun. When we last left the coven,
I have a question real quick.
Go ahead.
I have a question. I'm curious. I'm the real 06. I'm the real 06. I wonder what they prefer. 0 or O.
There's some of those, and I'm not going to say this, but there's some of those patrons who may not be caught up. But
all right, fair enough.
If you're around, let us know in the comments. Honestly, all the patrons, I think you all know at this point because you can change your names. But if you prefer something different, do it. Oh, of course, you're probably not seeing this for a little while. Huh. Yeah, some of that harassment that I used to be able to do to the YouTube comments and I'd be able to talk about it next week, I can't do. Okay. Well,
that's what's fun.
Yep. When we last left, Baba Sera and Legba had taken one of the enslaved men who had time and memories missing. Previously enslaved. That's very true. Refugees doesn't quite feel emancipated. Yes, that's a good one. There's this whole Emancipation Proclamation that doesn't happen for another 4 years. 61, 63. 61 is Civil War. Emancipation Proclamation before or after that? Anyways,
63. It's January 1st, 63.
There we go. But yes, emancipated man Jeremiah, who has because we didn't really discuss what he looks like because I didn't have notes. Mid-30s, so he's been around for a while. Still strong and fit, though it's very survival kind of strength. And for the first time ever has gotten a good night's sleep and has been able to rest. And then our cabal said, we want to take a look at you so that nobody else suffers this. Now, at the time, Jeremiah was thinking slavery, and he was on board. But our coven is looking at a broader picture. Took him up into the mines with Mambo Etoile, who now stands outside the... and in my head, I've always thought of like a curtained off. Like, even though it's hidden by magic, there's a physical barrier to
it's also used... It's also used for mundane purposes, right? So,
I know it was. Is it still used for, or have they moved
we haven't
out?
Decided against that. So I guess that's a good point. So maybe not. But it's just I imagine there'd still be those physical barriers that were installed before.
And let's be honest, we don't want just a bare rock room. Anyways, we want some little trappings of comfort and as well as ceremony. To kind of bring a room together, kind of like the carpet.
And this is a ritual space, right? So there'd be definitely.
And Jeremiah is now asleep, kind of guided into a meditative nap and then into a relaxed state, while Baba Sera gets an introduction to Legba's new toy.
Oh yeah.
And we pick up with the two of them having kind of discussed what it is capable of.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's going to let a daemon kind of cast a lens over what is seen in this place. Going so far, if they're completely aware of what they're able to do, change everybody's perspective and see all sorts of things. And while it doesn't physically appear, it is in your mind and it is powered by Prime and therefore still can harm you.
Yep.
Um, and so, yeah, we finish up with that discussion, and then we look to Jeremiah's sleeping form. And how do you two proceed?
Mm. I think Legba was standing there next to Baba Sera, having asked her to place her hand on the plinth, smiling, his eyes gleaming in the candlelit darkness,
And
waiting for her to reverse her hesitation and express forthright enthusiasm.
and like her hesitation is just her marshaling her mental resources for what's likely to come. So
Mm-hmm.
she just takes a moment to center herself and then places a bony hand on the plinth.
Cool. And this being an imbued item, you will
Yep.
roll Gnosis plus space. What did we calculate for that, Ralph? Do you remember what dot level that would be?
I think we said it was patterning. I think
Okay,
it would.
yeah, 4.
These would all be a patterning spell.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Patterning the space. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Gnosis plus 4 effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will have to take uh I guess 2 reach for instant and duration, because
It was
this
built. I think it was. We built it into the spell.
is reach built into the spell.
You build into the imbued item,
I'll have to double check on
right?
that.
The
But
spell factors are a part of it.
no,
And
you
it
get
cast it
this.
at that.
You decide the spell factors at the time of casting. So
Are
well,
you sure? I think that's
I'm
artifacts.
pretty sure. But regardless,
Hmm. Okay.
for our purposes, we know it's going to happen. I'm
Yeah.
just curious if
Hmm.
we'll get it with the Gnosis
Yes.
plus
Of
space,
course. Yes. Totally.
because that will be the spell itself. We won't have
Um,
to really worry
I'm
about paradox.
Oh,
so
they
when
are
you say
started on activation. Oh, interesting. Okay. Go ahead.
when you said you're rolling, did you mean me or like that?
Yep, you,
Okay,
because it is
so
your
my
Gnosis plus the
Hmm.
imbued item, in this case, the room's space
Yep.
arcana. So,
oh, okay,
Yeah.
hey,
there we
here we
go.
go. No problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
So immediately the space ripples. Oh, also subtract 1 mana. I don't know if Legba mentioned that. Stealing mana from you. Not really. But the room shimmers, and immediately for Baba Sera, you feel your daemon near, but it's not physical, it's not materialized, it's not visible, but you can feel that almost like whisper touch of like a hand on your spine. And for Baba Sera being the spooky looking one, right? This is not your favorite person, and probably maybe the only person, air quotes their entity, that Baba Sera is really actually scared of. That's kind of the vibe I get, is like the kind of afraid of your own strength kind of thing. Or have you guys kind of come a little bit farther from that in the past decade?
So in the past decade, there's their relationship is still fraught because the daemon represents aspects of Baba Sera that are like deeply ingrained in her psyche, but she's choosing to walk a different path.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Um, and they had a lot more peace when Enright was still there, but now that Enright's
Mm.
gone and Ike is back, a lot of those old feelings have risen back up again. So that
Mm-hmm.
peace has sort of probably become a little more strained. Um, but with the benefit of wisdom and probably a lot of talking with Legba,
Mhm.
Baba Sera's come that she understands where her daemon is coming from, and she understands the reasons why her daemon feels that way. So
Mhm.
she's trying to approach it more from an empathetic
Mhm.
perspective. Like, I know why you're like this, and I know why we want these things, but we're choosing a different road.
Mhm.
Is
Probably
sort
not
of
seeing her
her
as
take.
evil, right?
No,
Just
no.
maybe not even more misguided, I guess, maybe?
There's good, solid reasons why, and scars and
Mm,
trauma in her past. There's reasons why that she's like this, and Baba Sara's made the effort to understand that because that's her.
mm,
She has these feelings inside, so she recognizes this is an aspect of her that's just not comfortable with the choice of the path that she's walking. If that makes sense.
mhm. I like that.
So they were much more confrontational in the past, including physical blows.
Mhm.
Baba Sara's a lot more empathetic now and understanding.
Right.
I know we want this, and but that we're choosing to do differently.
Yeah, I like that. And then for Papa Legba, your view is much more dramatic in
Cool.
comparison because you
Yeah.
are now seeing things from the Damon's point of view. One of the things that definitely affects you is the ceilings are higher.
Oh.
You have this sense, and I don't think Papa Legba or even Cloak think about this because I don't think about this. I'm only 6 foot tall, but
Yeah.
frequently I
Mhm.
am reminded other people are shorter than me and I tower over them. I don't even mean to, I just do.
Yeah.
And so you
Mhm.
have this sensation of suddenly the walls and the ceiling, everything being something you're used to and comfortable, but now they're looming a bit higher.
Hmm.
Everything is kind of like coming down on, there's more stuff above you, so you just have this kind of warping
Oh.
sensation, especially for a
Oh,
space
that's
mage. That's probably
yes.
really
Who constantly has outward inward eye on?
mhm. Yep. And but that's and it so it's just this subtle touch that like
Mhm.
hasn't changed because that's not what happens with this spell, but the
Yes.
daemon isn't informing you of nope, this is how it feels to be
Yeah.
smaller.
Yeah.
And now you can probably guess this is the perspective, right? That Theo Baba Sera has just because of difference of height. And if I remember correctly, Baba Sera Theo isn't even that short. She's like,
No.
yeah, she's kind of average height. But
Mhm.
it's just that I want you to have that perspective of
Yeah.
being
Wow.
not
An
taller than
important
everybody.
truth that the demon believes.
Yep. But immediately, like you have these kind of revelations, these feelings, and you also start to feel Baba Sera, especially, you are feeling the daemon going, "Ooh, what is this?" And you definitely have that sensation of she is about to play and start doing things unless you all divert her attention and maybe get on with what you came here for. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the holodeck.
um,
Fantastic.
so Barbara Sara would immediately try and disarm or at least engage in conversation. But hi, honey. It's been a little while since we talked, but thanks to our friend Legba here, we can do that a little easier.
You see the walls of the cavern start to melt.
Yes. This is so good.
Like
This
slot,
is
like
Mhm.
not like falling, but like
Uh-huh.
starting to wear down, very morose, right? You
Mhm.
are
Yeah.
watching time progressing and pulling this cavern down to a flat plane kind of thing.
We should be comfortable underground. I'd like
Oh,
you to focus on the individual that's here with us.
you watch as what appears to be the the liquid earth start to
Mhm.
bury Jeremiah.
Oh,
Mm.
Legba realizes he's transfixed, wanting to just stand here and witness what's going to happen. He
Um,
grabs Baba Sera's hand and then places another hand on Jeremiah's brow.
Cast telepathy.
Yes, indeed. Or dream reaching, whichever you'd prefer. He casts a
Ooh,
ruling
that's good.
spell.
Yeah, I think telepathy makes sense because you'll still need to meditate.
Yes, of
For the
course.
two of you who are good at delving into the Oneros, Legba literally lives in the astral,
Mm.
and Theo makes frequent visits. This isn't even a role for me. This is the thing that you guys do. Like the spell goes off. You both find a comfortable position, or in Legba's
Mhm.
case, switches your attention, um, and you drop into your astral selves. Because over the past
Fantastic.
decade, y'all got some practice at this.
Yeah.
This is one of the things that the two of you, especially, you do. This
Mhm.
is a point of, like I said, this is where Legba lives. Go ahead.
it occurred to me, this is really interesting that the way that Theo gets access to Catherine's Aneros
Mm-hmm.
is through her daemon,
Mm-hmm.
which is there's a power
Yeah, that's a good
balance
point.
there.
Yep.
hmm
Mhm.
That's interesting.
Um, and yeah, you guys drop through yourselves, into your Oneros, and then follow the thread of telepathy into Jeremiah's Oneros as he sleeps. The last little bit of vision you have is the cavern kind of returning back to normal.
Mm.
As the daemon's perspective is like, oh, we're going, this is much more interesting. And you're left with the question of, could she smother Jeremiah? I don't think it would
Mhm.
work, but because
Mhm.
he isn't perceiving the hallucination.
That's
So,
right. Yes.
but it's one of
it's
those, like,
true from the perspective, right? If he wakes up, is he suddenly suffocated?
right. And that's one of those, like, questions Legba has as he falls into his Aneros and goes, you know what? I don't want to
Maybe
find
I
that one
should
out.
have researched this a little bit more.
No, we're comfortable with this. Um, and this is also the part where I'm going to remind our folks at home, we're delving into the Oneros of an emancipated man who spent 30 years as a slave, and life was not great for him all 30 years. We're not getting into any kind of abuse porn or white savior kind of crap. I've steered around a bunch of that, but I mean, some of this is the dark, spooky side of Mage. So just a reminder, if you don't want to watch all this, catch us on the next episode when I do a little recap of what they discovered. So just a quick reminder there. So the two of you step down because while Baba Sera's daemon is here providing some perspective and tweaking what you all see, she is not here. You don't get to bring your
Mhm.
daemon into a sleeper's
Yeah.
Oneros.
That's right.
Much fun as that might be to see what happens.
Oh, no,
Mhm.
no.
Yeah. Yeah. Not this. Yeah. Maybe not your daemon, but you step into the crossroads
Yeah.
of a sugar cane plantation.
Okay.
Dialed up to 11.
Mhm.
So the sugar cane, which already reaches like 8 feet tall normally, are scraping the sky. Some
Mm.
of the fields where it is grown and ready to be harvested literally feels like it is holding up the sky.
Wow.
Down one path that goes into the fields where you see fields at different levels of growth. Um,
Mhm.
there's another pathway that leads over towards slave hovels, just
Mm.
little dens, really. Other pathway leads towards the big house, which
Yeah.
is a bright, shining white beacon of safety and
Ah.
security and pain.
Ah.
And then off beyond into the side of that is the mill, which just exudes pain. Um,
Yeah.
and the time of day seems indeterminate. There's this
Mm.
kind of cloud cover, very Louisiana weather. It's just always kind of cloudy and rainy, and
Mhm.
you get spots of sunlight. But here it's just all cloud, And the time of day
Yeah.
is kind of odd to tell because the sun is low, but you can't quite tell, is this dawn or dusk?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the whole plantation is hard at work in its own rhythm because sugarcane plantations literally work 24/7. There was
Mm.
no rest period. You just had a night shift and a day shift and intermittent shifts. And then to kind of fill the air is shouts of command, whip cracks, shrieks of pain that are suddenly silenced, and this kind of rhythm to it all, and just
Mm.
never ending, right? And just
Oh,
the
jeez.
you hear this stuff, and it may come from a different quarter of
Mm.
this Oneros. It may come from a different place, but it's just constantly happening. Just every time the one thing ends, another thing starts up, and it's just constantly moving, constant sound. There's no rest.
There's a symphony of suffering in the background.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yep. Yeah, and the oh, well, what about singing? Yeah, spirit? No, not here.
Yeah, not
No.
here. Mm.
And the two of you stand there in your astral forms, Legba looking very much like Papa Legba, Baba Sera deep into. I think this is where Baba Sera looks probably almost ghostly, right?
Mhm.
Here are heroes.
Yeah.
Papa Legba with his cane and limp, and Baba Sera. As frequently the person who ends up playing the necromancer, I'm here for it.
Yeah. Legba looks around and then it turns to Baba Sera and says, "Hmm, this intensity. I wonder how much of this is the influence of her, or if this is intrinsic
I
to
never
his
knew this.
Oneros." Sorry, what was that?
Her and I never knew this,
Hmm.
but we interpolated from our mother's stories.
Hmm. But the height and the absence of any pleasant sounds and the constant rhythm.
I, I
In my
will.
own experience, it is indeed like this. What I mean is, in my memories in the camps, the sugarcane never seemed itself to be a threat to safety. And there were, in my enlightened self, I can acknowledge times of at least the absence of pain, if not joy. There was none of that here. And that might be true to Samuel's experience.
Jeremiah.
Sorry, Jeremiah. That's right. We switched.
Yep.
Jeremiah's experience and his memories of that experience. But I wonder if we might not have noticed the intensity, and your demon is helping us appreciate it.
To me, it's regardless, it's a significant factor here.
Yes.
Given what happened to Jeremiah, I think it's also safe to say that it wasn't an ordinary plantation. It was that.
No. Especially seeing this.
Mhm. We should be alert for symbolism outside of what we expect. Maybe there's something more to the sugarcane,
Yes.
like the real sugarcane.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Oh, yes. He says then, yes.
The whole thing may have been like a suffering farm
Oh,
for
yes.
someone who could
Wow. Indeed.
Hold
remember
one
how
second
Like
while
the,
I change my notes because
yeah.
a suffering
It
farm
is
is
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
brutal.
That Legba says, you see Papa Legba kind of quiver, astrally quiver in what looks like, you see like a heat haze as though he's moving really quickly. Um, And then it stops and he's crisp again. And then he says, I had to still my own reflections on the possibility that much of the oppressive efforts in my country, in my experience, were done to generate some type of arcane sacrament through the suffering we experienced. If that's what's happening there, if that's what's happening elsewhere, hmm, we have work to do.
So it seemed far beyond just rescuing slaves.
Yes, I'm
Okay,
loath to say there are more important things than emancipating those in bondage.
I understand.
However, it would be foolish to not acknowledge that there are also very important things if indeed that's what's happening.
Right. So let's proceed, but be mindful.
Yes, perhaps choose the brightest object, whether this is a feature of Jeremiah's Oneros or we're being encouraged to recognize its importance. I suggest we check out the bright, big house first. Unless you can think of something else you think might be a better choice.
Because she knows what her daemon is probably like.
Hmm.
Just glancing around the landscape before us, she'll make note of the house is bright. What's the darkest thing in
The
the line of
mill,
Oh.
sight?
which is really funny because like you have everything else, but the two of them are placed adjacent, and it feels,
Oh.
like the mill is, up literally along the river.
Uh huh. Yeah.
And so it makes an even greater contrast, the two.
Yeah. Wow.
I would suggest that we suspect that these are Caesars that are doing this, right? Even a
Yes.
seer wouldn't soil their bedchamber. Why don't we try the mill first?
I.
That is a whole other thing.
You see that quiver happen again?
Mhm.
Um, and then Legba says,
I like the idea that it's just the copies of you resyncing.
"Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's yeah. It started with Salazar,
Mhm.
Mhm.
so he's had to come up with a means to manage the fact that
Between Legba
it,
and Legba.
yes, exactly. Yeah. Because I mean, also Papa Legba has a protective bent. So
Hmm.
the thing is, he has to be very careful not to embody the true astral representation of Papa Legba because it'll be a different version of his own feelings, but it won't be himself. It'll be, he still will be, won't be authentic and faithful. But when he tries to maintain this more, scholarly Legba, it also puts him in a situation where he's veiling his own feelings for the moment. So yeah, that's definitely what it is. It's this overlapping of all of these selves. He has to make sure.
All right. So we head to the mill.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah, let's do it.
And so as you move towards that, we have the astral barrier, so to speak,
Hmm.
and you step into what appears to be memory.
Ooh.
Everything looks real in the way that
Hmm.
memories do. Some things
Yes.
are out of skew and things like that, but
Hmm.
everything seems right. Not heavy in the symbolism that you might see in a dream.
Mm.
Um,
Cool. Yeah.
and you see in this in the landscape, you have everybody and everything happening. The two of you are kind of much more ghostly in the case of Bob Sarah's case, but sitting back, kind of almost as if in twilight, watching the thing happen. And it
Mm.
appears to be a normal day of toil. Jeremiah cutting at the base of sugarcane, moving it and moving fast. And
Mm.
this is this swicking, slicing scythe sound, just constant and as fast as can be done, moving things. And then there is a other sound with a slicking and a shout of pain, and another man in bondage stands up, clutching at the side of his leg. It doesn't look bad. It needs medical care, but it doesn't look bad. His hand is there holding, but there's blood seeping through fingers. And the two of them look at each other, and then already an overseer is moving over to see what is happening because the sugarcane has stopped.
Yeah.
And there's a whip crack, and Jeremiah returns back to working, and another whip crack, and the other man starts working as his leg just bleeds down the side of his thigh. And and they work and they work and they work. And then the man beside Jeremiah, feeling faint, falls, and Jeremiah keeps working. And you feel his perspective, his vision just kind of narrow into sugarcane.
Yeah.
And the blade.
Yeah.
And his whole world, he's just like, nope, I can't look, I can't see, I can't be part of that.
But the audio background is there.
Yeah. Yep. Down to there is a gunshot.
Oh.
And then you're through the barrier and the mill lies before you.
Wow.
When Archmage Brilla had us do that little treasure hunt, it generated something for her, right?
Yes.
What was that called?
Quintessence.
Quintessence.
Yeah. She basically told you, she didn't give you a ton of details, but yes, you all working and doing these things and the patterns that you made and all that ritual generated quintessence for her. What it was used for exactly, you're not sure, but it definitely sounded like it was used for some higher levels of magic than you've ever heard of. But that was what you were able to read between the lines about.
This is probably a gross understatement, but the different camps of seers are each effectively ruled by an archmage who would need quintessence. It could be that the suffering without purpose actually had a purpose. We just didn't see it.
Yes.
What's the darkest, scariest line of sight here?
Oh, it's the mill. We're heading into the mill. Don't
We're
worry.
No, I mean, as we're in the mill. Okay.
Oh yeah, we're heading there. Yeah.
Are you able to identify Jeremiah's daemon?
Legba says, I haven't looked for them. I could. I'm trying to avoid drawing attention to ourselves.
Sure. Just might be useful to have a plot on their location.
Oh, yes, I
As we
could
move around.
instantaneously determine that, but for now, I'm trying to
and to be
behave as an innocuous visitor.
Yes.
And I think Theo would even realize that technically the daemon is everywhere. The daemon is literally omniscient within the Oneros. Very aware.
But if they can manifest.
If
right?
they decide to. Otherwise, I mean, literally just be sitting over your shoulder watching what you're doing and be untouchable. And I think this would probably be a Papa Legba thing, but like in order to fight the daemon, it would have to show up. So that's either their choice or using a Goche summoning to pull it here and force it to materialize or manifest. I don't know what it would be in. Manifest sounds like a good term in the Neros.
You could say that. I mean, but it's just here. Yeah.
Yep. So you two move towards the mill, which is a flurry of activity. You have 48 hours after sugarcane is cut down to process it
Mhm.
before
Mhm.
everything inside it rots effectively and goes bad.
Yeah.
This place is moving at breakneck pace. And here, that rhythm that the plantation as a whole had is
Mhm.
exacerbated. And you watch as motion, and you could almost see this with Jeremiah harvesting the sugarcane. Everything was to a rhythm. Here, all the motion is to a rhythm, and you can even hear like this ticking. This just, sorry, I don't know if the snapping is coming across, but boom,
Mhm.
boom, boom,
So we
boom.
stepped from grandfather clock ticking to like wristwatch ticking.
Um,
The cadence cycle.
Actually, probably switch that.
Okay.
Where the at the plantation level there was just, yeah, this wristwatch ticking. I like that. Where it's just like, yeah, something's keeping time, but everything's moving with that. Here, all of a sudden, it is far more prevalent and it is guiding.
Okay.
It is setting a pace, and everything is moving by that pace, and nothing misses a step. And here you have, even here in Jeremiah's Oneros, you have children working in the mill, moving things, resetting things, putting things onto rollers
Oh
amongst,
no. Yeah.
men and women working and moving things, because even the children must make themselves useful.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and there's no particular like portion here that seems darker than the others, but you do have, I guess, gantry, some upper levels where folks are able to look down and watch,
Yeah.
as well as people moving in and out. And here, um, similar to, truthfully, I hadn't mentioned it, there's ghostly figures of Goetia, of people moving and working, and they kind of fade in and out. They're actors, as we've talked about in terms of
Yes.
Goetia. They don't have any real self. They're just the faceless
Mhm.
things that are moving about. Um,
Totally.
but there are a couple that seem to have faces that are watching and looming over the rest as they work. And here and there you'll see specters of Jeremiah doing work. It's like, okay, yep, cool. You just worked a bunch outside. Time to work inside the mill with what you just, harvested. Um, and yeah, so you have this large. It's not very large. It's, you know, it's smaller than Theo's mill, to kind of set the thing. Smaller plantation. I mean, you
Mhm.
retrieved 20 folks, so
Yeah.
it's not a huge production.
Yeah.
But and so the mill kind of matches to that.
Mm.
What's the temperature like?
Hot. It is Louisiana on the Mississippi. There is no other
Yeah.
temperature. And inside here, it's even worse. Here it is not only hot and humid, but it smells. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, geez. What does the mill look like? Is it two flat stone discs?
Oh, the mill
Is
itself,
it
yes.
like geared? Yeah.
Yeah, not the
Okay.
not the mill. Yeah, that's true. The mill house versus the mill. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very,
And
very much the. We'll go ahead and borrow from Conan. This looks like the wheel of, is it Wheel of Agony?
okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it's
sounds
just
right.
this big pair of huge discs, and yeah, you've got, on the plus side here we have donkeys at work pulling.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we
Okay.
we have something,
Yeah.
but
Great.
yeah, and they're being guided by slaves and keeping them moving. Um, and you definitely know the donkeys will get a break.
Yeah. Uh,
And then
So
yeah,
Legba looks around
they're
to
just to.
see who's watching from the gantry.
I was about to bring that up, but yeah, I was like, okay.
Wonderful.
But yeah, you definitely have um, the archetypal white man standing over everything, and then a black man alongside him.
Hmm.
You know, the overseer, and probably not the master,
Hmm.
but one of their toadies watching. And they appear utterly archetypal. Like
Uh,
Jeremiah doesn't have a name and face to put to them. It's
mm,
just the I'm trying to think of historical terms, but you would have the overseer and then whatever, sir, whatever white guy was in charge.
mm, mm.
And blurry faces that seem to shift because there's probably a couple that, Jeremiah served under. Um, but yeah, they just kind of sit and have that, we'll say, aura of like rank one Goetia. Like these are
Mhm.
entities
Yeah.
beyond just the actors.
Mhm. Okay.
Any particular soundscape or direction? Anything that's variable here or different?
Nothing. Trying to not be obvious with what the daemon is highlighting, but yeah, there's, like I said, the kind of ticking that's following along. There's the grinding of the stone. There's this kind of whir
Oh,
of things sliding along conveyor belts and being
yeah.
passed along and moved along. And you do still have the whip crack, the shout of pain, but it's a little more controlled here. To be blunt, nobody gets really whipped here. They get taken out of the mill and whipped.
Yeah. Is there any blood on the millstone?
No,
Okay.
no, actually, it probably looks eerily and upsettingly clean and white in this environment
Yeah.
because it's just
Mhm.
the stones and the sugar.
Okay.
Head upstairs.
Yeah.
Cool.
Up to the
Another
gantry.
another barrier stands before you. Yes, Craig.
Just as we're heading that way, I'm gonna look for like trap doors or cellar entrances or something like that.
I will go so far as to tell you that Baba Sera doesn't see anything because Jeremiah never saw anything. And like when you start to like look at any kind of detail that is basically not the mill and the rollers and the sugar cane, it's that blurry, out of focus. That thing exists over there, but
Right.
having never paid attention
Oh,
to it, it barely
yeah.
registers. Like,
Cool.
like
Yeah, makes
even
sense.
like for
He doesn't have a distinct memory of it at all. It
no,
was just an
you know,
aspect of the background.
right? Like looking at the wall, even of the mill house, like low resolution video game kind of stuff, where it's like it's a wall. What do you want?
Yeah.
Like we're not talking about
Mhm.
the wood grain. His
Yeah.
world just
Mm.
wasn't even willing to take in that kind
S-
of thing.
So you know more about this than I do. Can the daemon remember things that Jeremiah doesn't?
The memories can be present without Jeremiah being able to access them. And then he says, I have aided you and others in recalling a memory that was still present in Euro Nero's.
Yeah, you would
It
have
is
to.
also, and then he shrugs and he says, it is also possible that these memories might be here, but veiled from the daemon. Because if someone is powerful enough to work with others who have done what they did and magically to Jeremiah, they could have left behind more subtle effects to stymie the investigation of
Yeah,
someone who might come afterwards.
yeah. And to go a step farther, you
Yeah,
are
go ahead.
looking in the archetype of the Millhouse, right? If you were to
Yeah.
find a specific memory of a time Jeremiah was here, then you might be able to get a little bit. It's kind of like, oh, I can't imagine so and so's face. Oh, well, you can't just
That makes
imagine their
sense.
face. You need that perspective, that moment you
Yes.
remember seeing
Yeah.
their face.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So yes, you approach the spiral staircase that leads up to that
Mhm.
gantry. This kind of small, it's not really even an office, but there's a
Mhm.
place to shut a door kind of thing.
Yeah.
And within that moment of passing through, you were suddenly yanked out of the mill house, and
Oh.
you're in a, a, a hovel,
Ooh, yeah.
and you have Jeremiah chewing on a hunk of bread.
Yeah.
And there are others there, and children are crying, there's sobbing, but
Mhm.
like at least there's this moment of rest where they're not working, and you just you have Jeremiah eating, and there are others thereby who are not eating, and Jeremiah eats, and again you have that perspective of like,
Yeah.
I can't look at that. I can't be there for that. I'm doing this.
Jeez. Yeah.
And like this shift of his body to protect it.
Yeah.
And just animal instinct just to
Of course.
survive.
Yeah.
And like,
And that's certainly that's a part of the psychological abuse he suffered, where he had to disdain the care for those around him in order to stay alive.
yep. Yeah, this is not a thing where you can, apply uh morality or
Yeah.
ethics. It's like,
Exactly.
no,
Yeah.
this is animal survival
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's not fair to say that he's being selfish by eating the bread himself.
Yep. And it is the longest 5 minutes of your lives
Yeah.
as he eats that bread and listens
Yeah.
to others sobbing, crying,
Wow.
stuff like
Is
that.
that also rhythmic? Is chewing,
No,
is it like practiced and careful, or is he ravenous?
no, it is like, I'm eating this as fast as I can. It is, yeah,
Okay.
it is
Yeah.
out of that rhythm. I like, yeah. And to even step back just for a little clarification,
Yeah.
the very clear memory of when he harmed and basically led to the death of another slave,
Yeah.
that was not in time to the ticking, right? The ticking only
Oh,
exists in
yeah.
his Oneros and these times but when you're dropped into these memories that burden him,
Yeah.
um,
Uh-huh.
life is going on as normal, and there
Yeah.
isn't any that scent of rhythm or timing or anything like that.
Okay. Let me ask one more question then.
Mhm.
The sound, do we hear the bread going down his throat, the dry bread,
Mm-hmm.
and the
Yeah.
sound of his swallowing? Is that like enhanced? Are we more exposed to
I think
those
I,
visceral
Yeah, I was going to say,
sounds?
I think there's the two things where you're like, that is that's somebody turned the gain up on
Yeah.
specifically him chewing
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
swallowing, and then
Okay.
the sounds, and just like
Yeah.
that your Damon Baba Sera is being a jerk.
Yeah.
Rattling the cowbells in your ear, right?
Mhm.
Like, hey, you hearing what
Oh,
this
yeah.
is? Yeah. And without her there to say something, but I think for Baba Sera, you can probably get the look. These sleepers are just like, they don't even care for themselves. They're like some of those really base things that
Mm.
that your Damon has like harped about, how sleepers are beneath mages,
Oh,
right, and
yeah.
will
That's right.
workers.
Yeah.
That's the kind of message that she's really sending in. Now on the
Oh,
flip
yeah.
side,
That's right.
you have definitely been able to see that she has given you like clues and context and stuff like that when in the
Mhm.
Oneros, but in the memories, yeah, she's really just kind of harping on. She is seeing Jeremiah's pain and going, "Yep, see, sleepers suck." It's like, that's
Oh,
not nice nor fair.
they're weak. They're weak, therefore their subjugation is justified
Yep.
because they aren't powerful enough to rise above it.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yep. You okay, Craig?
Yep.
Okay.
Um, Mother spoke about how it wasn't the physical that was the worst. It was the spiritual, the moral injuries.
Yes.
It had a huge impact on her.
It had a huge impact on me too. That's why you and I found kinship so quickly. That even if those weren't your experiences directly, you of all the people I found in town, other than those who came with me, were most inclined to understand the reasons why I walk the path I walk in order to unburden myself of that which happened to me before.
I'm just I'm trying to figure out how to make this a sharing of perspective with Theo's Damon.
Yeah, you might
Mhm.
have to have a talk with her later.
Yeah.
Because right now she I will say meta wise she loves this because she gets
I
to
bet.
mess with your perspective and show a bunch of things, and there's no talking back to her. She may be
Yeah.
able to hear you, but what are you going to do about it? It's not like when she talks shit
She's in
about
control.
Catherine and you could reach out and
Yes.
grab her.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
Oh, yeah, totally.
yeah. No, Theo is like accepting what she wants to know,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Emphasize, yeah.
but the lesson that she's trying to teach Theo isn't landing.
Right. No, and we've definitely
Mm.
established that
Mhm.
Theo, Baba Sera, and her daemon don't see eye to eye. Like, you can say this all you want, you're not changing my mind. It would have to be a serious event, I think, to change Baba Sera's mind and be like, you know what, David, you had a right idea. Bring out the mausoleum, build the necropolis. So,
You see Legba pause and say, hmm. As I shared with you, certainly the most troubling thing for me was when I chose to get out of, well, this state of a depressing lack and chose to perpetuate the ills upon my countrymen that were perpetuated on me. And I chose to exercise the brutality that had so made my life worth so little value, at least it seemed. I wonder if perhaps hmm, Jeremiah had been exposed to such an opportunity. He is fit. Perhaps the representation of the overseer is faithless, not because he does not know what he looks like, but because he does not want to remember that he was once at some point on that gantry.
Mhm. That's worth exploring.
Hmm.
My theme is trying to show us how he's weak and
Yes.
unable to control. But what I see is somebody who is aware of the injustice in this scene and trying to cope with it.
Hmm. Think that is quite true. He is surviving. It is hard to call surviving a noble endeavor because it is a necessary endeavor. And it isn't a matter of good or bad. It is living or dying. I wonder if your daemon is trying to make the point that power only comes to those who claim it. We've reached a point in our understanding of our awakenings that the watchtower is called to us. Wait, quick out of character. We did get some basic understanding of that when we got the education from like the diamond representatives, right? We had that conversation so that our characters could have a basic um knowledge of the terminology
Oh yeah.
that we know out of character. I just want to make
Yeah.
sure. Cool.
And you've
Cool.
had 10 years with
Oh,
access
that's
to the
right. I'm in
astral.
Metropolis, and yeah, that's right.
Your
Okay,
vocab is up to
yes.
date.
All right, fantastic. So Legba says, yeah, there's some evidence to suggest that although the watchtowers draw us across the abyss into the supernal, we claim that. We claim that through our questing, through our inquisition and curiosity, through our rejection of the lie, through a forthright assertion that what we believe is true, and what we've been told is true is not. And so we become mages because we believe we deserve to become mages. And the watchtowers honor that. And to shirk that is in many ways dishonest. If you are called to something, you cannot renege on it quickly because you dislike the trappings associated with it. Perhaps your daemon is trying to highlight that whereas Jeremiah is surviving, and we would consider that noble, Jeremiah could also do something to get himself out of this, even if it led to his death, because perhaps she would view a death on your feet better than a life in chains or on your knees.
And I understand that perspective. And the effort required for the path that I choose to walk
Hmm.
is not insignificant.
Yes, that is true.
She would have me look at the scene and dismiss it as not worthy of that he's not worthy
Yes.
because he's doing this.
Hmm.
But I look at it and think of had we come sooner,
Hmm.
but that I mean it's not a thing. We came when we came and we did what we did and continue to do what we continue to do.
We are not Rilla.
No, no, we're not.
In more than one way. Yeah.
And that's actually a good point. I think my daemon wants me to be real. That
Mhm.
everything that isn't me is a tool to be used.
Yes.
Archmage Rilla. Let's clarify
Yes,
what
yes,
we're
yes,
talking
fair,
about.
fair enough. Fair enough.
Not our Rilla. Our Rilla is a wonderful young lady. Yeah.
I think at the last 10 years, like if we're talking about Rilla in any sort of a negative connotation,
It's
it's
Archmage
understood
Rilla.
there's an archmage there.
Yeah, I like that. Just context clues. If we're saying something negative, it couldn't possibly be ours. Yeah, I like that. I like the fact that like in real time, us having this discussion is the amount of
Yes.
time it feels that it takes Jeremiah to eat that bread. Even though it
Wow,
happens
yeah.
in probably seconds, right?
Mhm.
It's just
An
this
astral
drawn, right?
link.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his memory of it is just this drawn out, like one of those, iconic core memory kind of things when he remembers he did this.
Yeah. Totally.
And then suddenly you're back in the mill house climbing up and having finished climbing up
Wow.
the spiral stairs, and you see the two Goetia who turn and see you, right? All the other actor Goetia are just kind of
Yes.
milling about and have ignored you.
Yes.
These two turn and look at you and draw upright and defensive, and their voice is this garbled mass of many voices, right?
Ooh.
And the white man um Stan, who the fuck are you?
Oh, good.
Hmm.
So, in this moment, you have
Mhm.
moved deeper within
Yes.
his Oniros, and the sound below
Hmm.
the pace setting, the ticking has gotten louder and more
Oh.
um what's a good term for it? More demanding,
Oh, yeah.
pulling you into its rhythm. If you would like
Oh.
to make any action, speak out of turn, or anything like that, I need you to make a resistance plus resistance, because welcome to the astral roll,
Hmm.
-5.
Whoa! Awesome.
And this would also be one of those things where you realize, probably now, oh, that ticking sound may not be something Baba Sera's daemon is highlighting. It may just be
Yeah.
this loud and all consuming.
Wow.
Um, so is this it trying to draw us in?
It is trying to force you to move in the way that you are supposed to, big air quotes there, and in the
Yeah.
time that it dictates.
Mm.
Yeah.
As I'm kind of torn. Do we ride this wave
Right.
or
And this is this
get back out of it?
yeah. There, and I will go ahead and meta wise tell you, going along with it is not necessarily a give up negative
Yeah.
connotation. It's just, how do you want to deal with this?
Yeah. Legba's ready to go along with it. He is not here to declare what is supposed to happen. He's here to witness
Okay.
what's supposed to happen.
And I think that's Officer's point of view as well. Her daemon, and whether she's actively involved in this or not, her daemon wants to show her things. So
Yeah.
she's going to let this stream carry her.
Um
And Drew's like, shit.
no, not a shit thing. It's just, how do I say this? Um
We get taken outside of the mill house.
Not yet. Um
Okay. Yeah.
um Ralph, what is the obsequious, obedient thing that rips out of Legba's lips?
Oh, wow. Oh gosh. Okay.
And this is also the chance where you're like, I'm gonna roll that instead, because I don't
Yeah,
know
I
how
think
much.
this is what happens. I think that uh that cloak feels that coming out, and he feels, I will never again participate willingly in that. I will witness, but I will not toe
Hmm.
to this line. He's not going to do that. So that he'll make the roll.
Okay. And I should say, maybe not necessarily obsequious, not necessarily that you will give this guy any kind of respect, but that you will answer properly, truthfully.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's it. Oh,
Yeah,
okay. You
I
don't
was like,
mean
wait, you know what? Hang on, let me.
like, please, I'm sorry, that kind of, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Um, uh, because of what I was going to do
Hmm.
if you hadn't prompted it that way. So you're like, what the fuck are you doing here, right? Um, Legwood was just going to act as a imposing presence would,
Hmm.
as if these overseers were familiar with those seers.
Hmm.
Say here to witness the what did we say? Hmm.
The work with a
Yeah,
capital
witness the
W,
work, or
right?
witness the work, right? Yeah, and he would imbue that word with greater significance,
Okay.
trying to not loom and intimidate them, right?
Hmm.
But they don't recognize us, right? So Legba would then try and embody this kind of arcane image he
Mhm.
has of being this huge figure. And what else could he be?
Mhm.
I am here. No, this is what he would say. I am here to see. I am here to witness the work.
I like that. Um, Craig, same question.
Um, I'm here. Don't know if they bury or burn. I am here to see the remains.
So you both find yourselves answering in sync, in time,
Mm.
with each
Oh,
other
yeah.
to the ticking of this clock.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, and it's like, even though you are saying the words that you have chosen in your head, the
Hmm.
like, this sentence should come out smooth and in my normal cadence and not sound like I'm Captain Kirk, right? It like,
Mm.
it comes out in this very stilted, and
Yeah.
you're like, what is this? Meanwhile, these two seem to, well, the one guy who's spoken so far seems to speak just fine. The two of you are just like, even your astral breathing seems in time with
Oh, wow.
everything that is
Yeah.
happening. And this is just this like this deep into Jeremiah's Odniros, there is this
Mm.
heavy rhythm to things that you can officially at this point go, this, we have found the at least one of the weird things that are happening within, right?
Yeah.
But with those answers that, you know, aren't particularly rebellious or disruptive, they're passive, they're viewing, the both of them just seem to snap into back to where they were, looking down and watching. Like, you have just
Oh, yeah.
been dismissed. They're like, "What are you doing?" Nothing. Okay. And there's that consideration that you seem to fit right into what is
Mm.
Right.
happening.
We've defined a role for ourselves. That
That's a really
Yeah.
good way to put it. You
Mhm.
you have
That's great.
made that fit, and it fits with everything else that is happening, so it is not a problem. So you are suddenly dismissed, and they don't care. You can move about the gantry and walk, but again, all your motion
In the
isn't.
stilted. Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, you
Check
guys
it
are
out. We're
doing.
glitching, everybody.
I was going to say, you were like, and we're there's no interposed movement. This is very like stop motion. Your hand is here, and then
Hmm.
suddenly it's there, and there was no
Yeah.
intervening. And it is like,
Wow.
for you as you
Yeah.
walk, like, yes, I'm just walking, but you feel your body moving in these, and it's like you are not entirely in control of your own body.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
very upsetting,
Wow.
because it
Yeah.
feels like you have some agency, but
Hmm.
when the things happen is in time to this
Oh, so
ticking,
we can choose what happens, but we can't choose how or when it happens.
right?
Ah, okay.
It is very, and for the most part, mechanically, you guys are able to move about and do as you
Yeah,
wish
yeah,
for
yeah.
the time being. But yeah, it is.
The outcome is something we can decide.
Mhm. But for now, it's very weird. Yes. So yeah, you have this viewpoint up here looking down, and from here, even though you were just down there, up here it is a vastly different view. You seem to be way up above, and everything that is moving down there feel like ants, right?
Yeah.
And just this flow of stuff, and similar to ants, right? There's that pattern and motion, and like things are moving in time with everything, and so you are just from up here so far removed
Mm.
from what you had been down amongst, right? Just a second ago.
Yeah.
So even though from our real world perspective, there's not much distance here, these two places
Yeah.
feel like two different worlds, even, right?
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
And then there is uh the office there, which I'll go ahead and tell you doesn't seem to contain anything that you can really investigate. There's papers that have no words on them, or some of the
Hmm.
words is just illegible,
Yeah.
it's trying to read things in a dream,
Yeah.
same
Uh-huh.
kind of thing. There is no distinct memory of stuff, but there's ledgers and pages and black ink and
Uh,
red ink, and it means
yeah.
something, but for you as investigators and stuff like that, it's not useful.
Mm. What else is up on the gantry? Is the office? Is it just the platform in the office and the
It's
two?
it's more or less a spiral staircase that comes up to a gantry that does kind of
Yeah.
reach all the way across, but like I said, it's a fairly small mill, and then
Yeah.
an office space that is sealed, what you would imagine, literally just so wind isn't whipping through pages and documents
Hmm.
and stuff like that.
Yeah. That
Or if
makes
it's
sense. Yeah.
rainy, it's a
Oh,
little
of
bit of a
course.
shelter from. I
Yeah.
mean, you do have the ceiling, but you don't have stormy stuff because it's unlikely in the event of a hurricane that this place really shuts down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jeez. Legbo looks to Baba Sera, maybe once they pass by the office, and he says, "There are things to see here that I think Jeremiah's daemon wants us to see. And there are things to see here that your daemon wants us to see. And because this rhythm is so much more influential here, I wonder if your daemon, or oh, sorry, he says, I wonder if that influences your daemon's ability to show us that which she believes we must see."
Hmm. Yeah, you would know more than I.
You see him stroke his chin again, and he says, I would believe that if we get to a point deep within Jeremiah's Oneros and want to see something that your daemon believes is important, and it conflicts with the truth as Jeremiah's daemon believes is important, that will suddenly become very clear to both of us. In fact, even if it is potentially, shall we say, dangerous, I think it might reveal something that his daemon wants to keep hidden, that she does not. I think we should look for those points of aberration.
Makes sense.
And he starts looking at the gantry. And Legba starts walking around the gantry and, like, let's not say stomping, but pressing down to see if this is completely solid
Yeah.
or if there are parts of it that are less secure, parts where people could fall through. He starts trying to press on the roof
Hmm.
to see if there are parts of it that you can go through. He starts pressing on the walls to see if there's a part of this space that has less integrity.
I gotcha.
Hmm.
Um, Meta wise, might I
Yes.
say that you are searching for the holes
Yes.
in? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Craig, are you going along with this search as
Yeah.
well? Okay, cool. So yeah, the two of you kind of work. Like, don't get too separated. We're in
No, 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 no.
Yeah.
yeah. But as you kind of work, Legba's working along the left side, Baba Sera's working on the right side, and you walk, and you in the gantry like is basically just a long
Yeah.
streak across the top, and then it does a similar like T shape on the other side. And as you walk and you walk, and then you feel that astral barrier just getting as you move on, and you're searching, right, and looking for the missing thing. And there's a new astral barrier, another, as you like, oh, okay, we're moving on to a
Mm.
different cell, air quotes, of the
Yeah.
Oneros, and you push through, and you have a memory of Jeremiah speaking to one of the white men in charge, and
Hmm.
he's begging to be an overseer. He's begging, "Oh, I'll be good. I'm loyal. I work really hard. Please, 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 please." And it's like it is I don't secondhand embarrassment is not the right term for it, but it is just so hard to see somebody
Yeah.
just abject. And again, we know where he is coming from to do this. This
Yeah.
is desperation to survive.
Yep.
Um,
Absolutely.
and he he puts his heart out, right? Not for
Yeah.
the love of the job, God no, but just the
Mhm.
desperation to live a slightly better life, right? To have a
Yep.
little bit more freedom, a little bit better food. And literally, there's just a shove and it bodily pushed away,
Mm.
back to work and just dismissed. And just you
Yeah.
feel, and this is compared to some of the other memories, this is like a very recent memory, right? And
Oh,
this is
yeah.
Jeremiah hitting rock bottom,
Yeah.
right? Where
Yeah.
before he could
Yeah.
work and he had this
Yeah.
little bit of pride to himself. And like this is
Yep.
the just desperate last act of just because he can't take it anymore. Um
Yeah. God.
and it is gone in a flash. And then you are
Wow.
standing at, we would recognize it as potentially a black hole.
Oh.
Legba might recognize this from his work and his studies as almost like looking at a band with mage sight, right? Everything
Yeah.
goes around it.
Yeah.
You can't get in, you can't get out, but
Yes.
there's something in there for
Yes.
Baba Sera. This probably more is the, remember that time you took Jules' soul out of his body for a little bit and and studied it and looked at, and that socket where
Consensual.
consensual,
Consensual.
definitely consensual. It's okay, Petrichor. The Jules probably asked for forgiveness for doing this experiment after the fact instead
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
but it was like, you did what? Listen, it was fine. We had the jar and everything. We were good. Everything was
Soul's
good.
back right now.
Yep.
Look at me. I got my
I'm fine.
soul.
I'm fine. I'm
Everything's
good.
fine. Yeah.
But it's that same seeing the socket where Jules' soul belonged. Like his soul's right here, it's safe. And it's just like
Yeah.
something belongs there. And it is this infinitely deep emptiness that cannot be filled
Mm.
with anything else than Jules' soul. Like it is
Yeah.
that kind of nothingness. For us 90s kids, it's the nothing from the never ending story. It is just, it's not a black space. It's not an empty space. It is a nothing,
Absence of things.
an absence
Mhm.
of things. It's not even the vacuum of space out there, kids, because that's an intervening space. It's nothing. Which, like, even for mages, we don't mess with nothing because there's the abyss. That is
Yes.
a something. This is a void of nothingness. It is this huge swath of it. Hang on, where's my notes? The edges of which are exact. The edge that
Oh,
you're
wow.
standing on feels
Yes.
like you've come from somewhere. You're standing on the edge of something that should be there, like your heels are standing on the very edge, toes over the void, right?
Oh, yeah.
But the shape of it feels excised precisely, cutting out
Wow.
something that
Yes.
should go here. Now, just to re-clarify, this isn't literally like his soul is missing or anything like that. This is
Yep.
just something within his own neuros that somebody
Mhm.
showed up and went, no, you don't get this.
Let me cut that
Yoink.
out. Yeah.
And here the ticking is absolutely all consuming. The idea of speaking to one another is beyond you. Even trying
Wow.
to think here is just really hard. It's that loud sound. There's that big,
Ooh.
loud pace setting boom that has gotten so
Yes.
much loud. But now there's this new susurrus of clicking, ticking,
Uh-huh.
snaps and whirs, which we may recognize as machinery or clockwork.
Yeah.
This and like intricate levels of stuff where like it, to put it another way, a single raindrop is just a little blip. A little drop of water is just a little blip. Enough of it becomes the roar of the ocean, right?
Yeah.
That is what you're hearing, along with this boom, 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 that is setting that pace. And that is the only thing here. And that
Wow.
doesn't seem like it's coming out of the nothing. It just
No.
seems to be something that is still echoing here, even though whatever was here
Oh,
has been removed.
wow. That which produced it is gone,
but the noise is
but
still here.
the
The
noise
echo
still
of it.
echoes for. Wow,
And
that's
doesn't seem
incredible.
like it's not tapering off like, an echo might in a
Yeah.
cave or anything like that. It's
Can,
just
can I
stuck here.
can I offer something that might be an interesting interaction with Legba's first legacy attainment?
Hmm.
So the Walk in Two Worlds, up until this point, it's been somewhat distracting, and right, we have those. If he's trying to do anything in the physical and the astral at the same time, there's problems, right? Can we say that he's now at this point where it is so oppressive and overwhelming, the sound, that he loses contact with the physical world? He can no longer perceive it while he's here,
I
but at
would
least for that moment he's distracted, like
this
he doesn't
is
actually know what's happening around it. So he's now, for maybe the first time in 10 years, he is just in his astral self. He is not paying attention to something else in the physical.
Yeah, that is actually a very, very good way to put this. This is just absolutely mind-boggling, all-consuming, and it's just the echo.
We have to, oh gosh, Legbo wants to turn on mage sight, but that's such a mistake. um
I will go
uh
ahead and play your character for you just a little bit. You turn on Mage Sight.
Great,
There's
cool.
nothing there,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is just like this, and like you've seen memories removed, you've done it yourself and stuff like that, and it
Yes.
has this
Uh,
this kind of same thing where you went, I need to remove this specific memory or change this specific memory, and it has that feel, but it doesn't leave this echo, right?
yeah.
And this is like when you would remove a memory or alter a memory, right? You adjust and kind of tie things together. And this is something brutal.
Wow.
This is a world-class surgeon
This is an
removing
amputation.
removing somebody's kidneys. Just like, nope,
Okay.
those are mine now, right?
Wow.
Like an
Yeah.
amputation suggests the possibility that it might have been helpful to somebody. This is this
Mm,
is this
okay.
is that step beyond where it's just like, nope, you don't need that, and I've decided that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Then there's something I'm thinking that Legba would think to do, but I also want to pause because, Greg, you might have things to say. So I'll share it after I confirm that I'm not interrupting you, Greg, from something you want to do.
I'm just was looking at using a legacy attainment.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Great.
Um, just to give her some context on this, is this like an amputated part of his soul?
Mm.
Technically, yes, because the
So
Oneros
soul marks
is.
would reveal that this is a wound.
Yeah, if you had used soul marks before jumping into Jeremiah's soul, this probably would have been one of those things that I would have mentioned, that there definitely seems to be like somebody has messed with the shape of his soul. Because souls are kind of pluck one out, put another one in. You're more or less the same person. But yeah, you would definitely have been like, somebody did
Mess with the
something.
shape of the container,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because that's the issue, right?
Mhm.
Like a
Yep.
Is it
nick or
is it like
crushing.
altered the shape or has amputated a bit?
6 to 1, half dozen the other.
Well, for Theo, it's significant. Like did did somebody just massage or force cram his soul into a new shape, or did somebody like create a soul stone?
Oh, gotcha. No, you would not recognize what
Okay,
this is, but I will go ahead and say that from Legba's side, he's like, okay, this was a memory. But maybe even more than that. Like, this is more than just like that single memory. This is like
This
a
is him.
whole experience or something. I mean, we know he's
This is
missing.
This is a. Yes. This defined him. This was so important.
This would be a thing that defined him.
Yeah. So sorry. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Yeah. A defining memory more so than just an event he witnessed.
Yes, that's a good way to put that.
Like Inside Out.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This was one of the islands.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is there, Baba Sera, is can you feel a connection?
Oh, Bob Sir asked it to Legba?
You
Okay.
can't
I
speak.
wasn't sure, Craig, when you said that.
Yeah, you're not talking.
Oh, I thought we had a telepathy thing on it.
Mhm.
Okay.
In your telepathy right now, boom,
It's just boom, boom, boom.
boom.
Okay.
Yeah, and you guys are probably experienced enough with telepathy to be able to shut your guys' thoughts off each other. But for a second there, you guys were getting it in stereo, echoing into
Oh,
your
yeah.
own heads.
Mm-hmm.
The reverb would be terrible, or the feedback.
Yeah, like it would have been like, oh no, and you were, I guess that even because previously you guys may not even been speaking aloud, just connecting,
No.
via your minds,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
this
So used
it's
to
just
that.
now you are suddenly alone here. Like there is the sensation that you are near each other, astrally, but otherwise you are alone with this sound and this emptiness.
Mm.
So if HI is not affecting be dispelled or anything, this is like a permanent
Yeah,
injury.
this whatever this is lasting.
Legba realizes. Actually, wait, sorry. Craig, you're still asking questions. I'll wait.
No, go ahead.
You sure? Okay.
Mhm.
I was going to say, Legba realizes that this is lasting, and lasting injuries have signs that imply what was removed. In his exploration of minds of the Oneros, he has come to understand that when you remove a portion of it, you cannot eliminate the borders that were taken up by that which was present before. If you're not familiar with what was present before, it might not be immediately obvious to you what was removed. However, if you can understand the importance of those borders in at least vague terms, it gives you some useful information. So he's considering casting a spell, a mind and prime spell, and we can talk about like what factors might be necessary. But I should first express to you what he's interested in figuring out, and then we can decide if magic is necessary. Okay, so
I would go ahead and say you would probably be just fine scrutinizing this with Gnosis.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. Okay, great. Then that's what he would like to do. And his goal, of course, he's assuming, hey, let's reveal what kind of definition, what
Mhm.
kind of experience, what kind of event, object, length, duration, that kind of thing, right? This is a day of working at toil. This was a big object that scared the wits out of him, that kind of thing.
Yep.
Even if he can't know exactly what it was, but what is the nature of the memory?
Love that. Yeah,
All right,
Gnosis
wonderful.
plus whatever Arcana you're using. Mine probably.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's probably appropriate. Gnosis, mind. Got mind and Gnosis. Does Gnosis not light up anymore? There we go.
No.
No, it did. Go. Okay, and then scrutiny. So let's see. I am going to. How much is that equipment bonus?
2.
Is it 1
Is it 1?
or 2? I can't remember. I think it might be 2. 2-die equipment bonus when you have a relevant.
That is what I had in my head. So
yeah,
we'll roll with that.
Cool. 2. All right. And then he's going to spend some mana. In the event I get 1 success, so I can.
Oh, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Open. Count as more successes. Correct.
Yes, exactly.
How much mana are you spending?
I can spend up to 6. I'll spend 6.
Okay. For clarity, this is opacity 4, so actually 6 mana would give you way over. So I don't know.
Well, if it's exceptional success, it
That's
goes down.
true. That's fair.
It goes through.
Yep. I just want to be clear. Cool. I like
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. But yeah, I think that's probably considering there might be a limitation in how often he can roll. I'm going to see what I can get.
Definitely is. Yep.
Yep. So just aim for the fence.
Yep.
All right, +2 and
+3 if you use willpower.
oh yeah, okay, cool. So then I will spin a willpower as well. All righty.
5 successes, sure.
Yeah, +6 is 11. Woo!
All right, cool. So
That's
4,
all of it.
3, yeah, that's 10. Yeah. Cool. Yes. And you were still just looking at the borders, but yeah, you just have that
Yeah.
moment where you just put effort into it, mana and
Mhm.
willpower, and just especially you have mastery of mind and plenty of gnosis,
Yeah.
and just go. I need to know what
Yeah.
was here. And yeah, like I said, you have like your feet on this border, this edge of what existed. And it is the shape of more or less 2 days.
2 days.
2 days that
Yeah.
started at the hovels
Mhm.
and then ended at the hovels, but the intervening time was vastly different from anything Jeremiah had ever experienced before.
Oh, okay.
So, like,
Now,
go
did
ahead.
it feel like the time lasted longer?
No, it
I don't
feels
mean
like
in
it
that
was 2 days.
subjective, like
Mhm.
things are drawing along.
Right. No, this felt like 2 days of
Okay.
a very bizarre experience.
Okay.
Something supernatural, perhaps we might
Yeah.
say.
Like
Mhm.
breakpoint inducing.
Oh yeah, that's actually a good way. That's probably the other thing that you're able to recognize because mine does tie into breaking points too. Yeah, this was something, and again, our core memory, right? At
Mhm.
the start of the memory, he had an integrity, and after it, he had less.
Ah.
And
Okay,
and
cool.
right, and
Right.
that's that core, like, yeah, probably like the scar tissue you're kind of able to spot, but what caused that
Yes.
scar,
Yeah. Mhm.
no idea. And even the shape of the scar has completely been removed. You just know there was something there, right? It's just
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
all
Mhm.
consuming, like, what the heck? To throw back to a previous episode, these two characters don't know it.
Yes.
There's the lacuna that
Yeah.
cut his timeline out, and
Yeah.
it exists out there somewhere if you can go
Mhm.
back and get it.
Yeah.
But there is just something just super precisely just has carved 2 days of this man's life, his memories of it, the experiences he had of it, the change it made to him. Like, he
Yeah.
ended with less integrity and has no idea why. He just feels like less, right?
Oh, yeah.
Less put
Yeah.
together.
Let's connected.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question then?
Sure.
Him hitting rock bottom and asking to be an overseer, did that happen after he lost the
Before.
integrity? Before. Okay, gotcha.
Mhm.
All right.
How we doing, Craig?
I know we experienced it before we entered
Hmm.
the viewed the absence, but it would have been an interesting consequence if once he dropped below that integrity threshold,
Hmm.
he's suddenly at the point where
He's willing to
he
ask.
abandons
Yeah.
that commitment and requests this opportunity.
Yep. But no, that memory was week 2, 3 ago versus this
Okay,
far more recent thing.
cool. Sounds good.
I can't tell if that's a thinking face, Craig. You got
I'm thinking.
okay.
There's no real way to get into this back.
Not for y'all.
There is one way. We can make it. We can fill the truth. The vessel retains its shape in the same way that you've helped me understand that a soul is merely the fluid that goes within the goblet of who we are. Our soul is the wine, and we are the vessel. his Oneros retains a spot for that which they took.
But the lines are not distinct. The
The
scar
lines are precisely distinct.
on the very outside, but we don't know what actually goes in there. How do we put that back without making shit up ourselves?
We seek assistance.
Ooh.
He smiles. Who do I like to talk to the most? Other than you. And he chuckles. He says, I must be honest. I expressed my confusion before about why I can't reach the angels. An angel would be very helpful here. Oh, wait, we can't talk. This conversation can't be happening.
No.
I'm sorry.
I had it
I
sort of in
forgot.
my head, assumed that we had moved away to a point where
and we can definitely say that, but I'll have to jump in there.
Okay.
But yeah, right now we can have Baba Sera thinking to herself for a moment, if need be. But yeah. But we can definitely move that conversation later into this timeline.
Okay, sounds good to me. Perfect. There are other things to do here as well, so that's why I wanted to confirm that.
Okay, if there's more you want to try, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there is one more thing he wants to try. And memories are not in Legsby's experience, right? Because he views our memories as links in a chain and our identity as an ongoing connection with everything that's happened before. When you rattle a chain at one end, now again, provided that the chain is suspended in a certain way and there are certain ideal physical conditions, right? The chain can transmit that movement, that undulation throughout the whole length. And that's how he thinks of it when your chain is affected in your mind, which is why he's often so loath to exercise a memory, because even if you're really precise about it and you're careful, there is possible that there will be some undulation that travels the length of the chain that causes a problem for a defining memory that you weren't aware of, or that was more important than you realized. So he's like, I can't use magic. If you want to somehow take it out of somebody's near us and walk to the omphalos, we can dispose of it there. But drawing the supernal through your soul to do it is unwise. You must go through the process of carefully, slowly moving it. So he then realizes he knows the shape of this memory. He has no idea what happened in the memory. Just it caused this lack of integrity, this loss of integrity. A breaking point is something that rattles a chain intensely. There's no way this only happens here. And the undulation of a chain always differs. You cannot snap it the same way. You can't rattle it the same way. Every single event that rattles your chain, it has a different quality. Mm-hmm. So Legba then thinks to himself, perhaps the undulation that happened when this memory occurred has some signal, and the undulation that happened when it was removed also might still be resident somewhere, resounding in an echoing fashion, not unlike the sounds we're hearing around us. And that's when he's like, the sound. That's when the sound has been drawn to our attention. That's when he realizes the sound. So let's leave it there before he goes into too much, unless, so because you might have some dramatic things that are going to happen, and then stuff with Baba Sera.
So the two of you kind of like tap at each other to kind of step back from this space.
Mm-hmm.
So you work your way backwards back onto the gantry. And you have your watchers back there who are still just looking down at the milling people, and have a moment to speak to one another. But before that happens,
yes,
I'm going to use this term, and feel free to correct me, a grotesque, right? A man
Oh,
who has become far more misshapen,
yeah.
just like the trying to remember was the movie 300, where we have oh my gosh, I cannot remember his name, the
Oh,
traitor.
yeah. Please, Darkus.
Yes. This unfortunate misshapen figure. Like, you can see there is
Wait, was that not Please, Darkus? Who was that? Let me. I'm quoting somebody.
look him
Keep
up real
going. Let
quick.
me look it up. Yeah.
But twisted and misshapen, and definitely, this is not something that, he was born this way. You can see the evidence of, marks and scars and the things that have
FELTs.
FELTs. Yes.
That's why,
Uh,
and that is, of course, why Chris used it.
mhm.
And yeah,
Sea
okay.
of Stars. It's like
Yes,
that
that's
thing we
right.
did. Girl by Moonlight. That's the one.
Yeah.
But yes, this looks, it is that kind of just massively twisted up and reshaped figure that vaguely, vaguely looks like Jeremiah. And
God.
while he has been twisted and reshaped and just absolutely mangled, he still has Jeremiah's strength and grabs the two of you, and suddenly you are like dolls thrown up against the mill house and held up with hands that are just enormous.
Wow.
And you just realize, oh, found his Damon.
Yeah.
Um, and
Wow,
he
this is intense.
does not appear to be moving in time with the ticking
Yeah.
of the clock that is here. He is free
Yeah.
to move, and looks up
Mm-hmm.
at the two of you, and like there's this like, is he looking to crush us, or is he
Mm-hmm.
thinking of eating us? It is this like
Oh, wow.
absolutely feral, like territorial, like prey or rival kind of thing. He's going to either
Yeah.
crush you entirely or consume you to
Mm-hmm.
grow stronger. Um, and there is a hissing low what, and like it's ripped through vocal cords that are not used to speaking. This is an
Yeah.
entity that has lived in this Oneros, and the, Jeremiah does not have time for inner thought, right? Even
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
sleepers have, where they think and kind of meditate on their day or anything like that.
Yeah.
This thing does not commune or have conversation,
Mm-hmm.
and just hisses out that what.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how so much work with a daemon, but like, is it choosing this form or is this form been forced upon it? This is kind of what I'm looking for.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it's very much a like, this is what it feels like it looks like.
I'm interpreting that like it's gotten a limited number of forms that it can take, and it picked one. Maybe. Okay.
I also get the impression that this is through psychological abuse and neglect, right? Your daemon can become a twisted version of what it once was as it responds to the events that have happened to you without your intervention. This is what happened to his mind and soul. And he's still trying to function as a human being, but he's not engaging any of this, so it just festers.
You feel the hands start to tighten.
Yeah, Legba's going to do something if he's not able to talk. Oh, of course, he activates his amnion.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, because that's an instant action, so I know you're gonna take a second to do that. Craig?
Yeah.
Um, just not taking any actions. Just we want to help you. We can help you.
Speech is good. Okay. And your speech comes out in that stilted, patterned kind of thing.
Can I
Uh,
try and break out of that at this point, or is it too late?
yeah, you're welcome to at any point to try and that, but it's going to be resistance plus resistance because we're in the astral,
Mm-hmm.
so it'll use your
Yep.
highest of social or
Yep.
mental, and then
Roll
you'll
that
use
5 composure.
yep. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. So you're rolling 5 because it's
Yeah.
5 plus 5 minus 5.
Yeah.
Well, that's just super convenient. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to add willpower, you of course can do that.
I will add one. Sorry, we're professional mage play. How much dice do I give for willpower? Is that just
3.
3.
3? Okay, thank you. It's been a
Yep.
little while.
It's been a little while.
Unless it's a resistance, unless you're boosting your resistance to something, then you get 2.
Yeah, just it increases your attribute by
Yes.
2.
Yeah,
Right.
sorry. Increasing the attribute. Yeah.
3 successes
Yeah.
like that.
Woo!
Yeah. So like all of a sudden, you now are speaking like he is.
Yep, and like you can see that stepping out of the frame, so to speak. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like no, I'm a real person almost. Cool. And then what does Papa Legba's Amnion look like?
So it's changed. It once was chains lapping around him. He used the things that held him down once to become his protection, right? Um, and now, so Brent did really cool effect with his nimbus, where representing the fact that he seems more distinct, that his nimbus gives the impression that he is the most real, in a space sense, most real thing that's present on a landscape. And here, his amnion is somewhat similar in that all blurring of lines disappear. So he appears to be the most crisp 2D version of himself possible.
I like that. Yeah, just like he stands out. He's real while everything else
Yes.
is a vague. Ooh, really like
Yes.
that. I imagine, the 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 clothing seems fitter, tighter, it's just
Yes.
yeah, I like that.
Yep.
More stepping into the world. I like that. And so like armor comes up and like neither of you feel a release of the hands.
Yeah.
But like there is a look, and I imagine Papa Legba just like putting on armor, but obviously not making any kind of hostile action. It's just like
Nope.
I'm protecting myself, but not trying to fight. And Craig, I would go so far as Baba Sera maybe like lays gentle, like reassuring maternal hands on the hand. It's like we're just here trying to help. Yeah. And either of you, well, actually, no, it'll have to be Baba Sera. You can
I think
go.
that it's actually more fitting. So Legba's trying to avoid leaning into the role of I
being
run
Papa Legba.
things.
Yeah. Oh, also
yes.
true.
So
Give me a persuasion roll. You can add any either your because you're not trying to be manipulative. It's not finesse. It's just presence. So you can use presence or intelligence plus persuasion because we're in the astral.
Is it not persuasion? Okay, yeah, just not highlighting. I got confused. Right, persuasion and intelligence. And I'll use it in the willpower. So I think this is important.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, one
One
success.
success.
Skinnier
Sweet.
teeth. Well, actually, hang on, let's see here. Now you had it on the second die. But yeah, like there's enough. You have not suddenly won him over, but there's enough, and especially specifically because you are not taking a negative because you are speaking in your own cadence, right? That it kind of drops you. and you guys kind of
cool.
land onto the gantry, and it draws back all the way. We'll imagine that we're on that other end T, right?
Yeah.
Draws
Hmm.
all the way back across it. So you guys are on the opposite ends of the T, and like drops into a very feral crouch, like pulled in on itself, and like is watching and kind of sizing you up.
Unless Legba has an action, I think Baba Sera would just like a hand out in a like, I mean, you no harm. Like she would approach like a feral animal.
Mhm.
Not that they're an animal, but you
Right.
know what I mean. And just soothing tones. We want to help. Terrible things have been done to you. We've seen what happened. The after effects of what happened. We want to try and help repair and heal. And try and very slowly, step forward a little.
If you,
Um, I think she's gonna like keep her eyes averted,
mhm.
so there isn't that challenging aspect to it, and try and make
Hmm.
herself a little
That's
smaller,
smart.
Yeah, kind of like looking at knees.
and
Yeah.
and lean on her cane a little bit,
That's very
right?
good.
Mhm.
Sounds like empathy to me.
It is. Yeah. Um um when you take that step forward though, you get a snarl. And
Mhm.
obviously you're like, nope, never mind, sorry, okay, we're not there yet. um but like I to Baba Sera, and then over to Legba, and back
Hmm.
and forth and back and forth, and just like watching. And like, actually, has Legba tried to step out of the pacing of the clock?
Nope.
Okay. So yeah, he definitely seems leery of Papa Legba because you
Mm.
were in that matching, but it's not in a like negative, just like not sure about you kind of
Yeah.
thing. But you, like, even just after speaking, and like you're breathing, right? As opposed to Papa Legba, whose shoulders are going doop, 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 right? Just
Oh,
with
okay.
breathing, right? And so it's just
Yeah.
like,
You know what?
it's
He'll
not a
wait
negative
because he
thing
didn't
yet.
want to. No, I understand, but he's waiting to do any sort of action other than you're not going to crush me, right? Like,
Hmm.
like, Lake was willing to accept what's going on. He's not like, willing to accept the Damon attempt to harm him, even if he could shunt out, because he has something to do. If the Damon is going to present a problem to him figuring out how to help Jeremiah, he's going to force the Damon to participate,
Hmm.
right? Not in the sense of controlling the Damon's thoughts, but
Right.
his goal here was not anything goes. It was trying to get information as along with what's happening, provided that nobody causes a real problem. So, um, his goal is not to, or anyway, let me say this differently. He's going to try and break out of it so that he can then just remain there like Baba Sera
Hmm.
as clearly a real boy.
I like that. Okay, go ahead. Well,
All right.
resistance plus resistance -5.
Yep. Yep. And I'll spin a willpower. Both resistance traits are the same, so I'll double it up.
Mhm.
Track 2.
Cool. 3 successes. Yeah.
3.
And all of a sudden, yeah, real boy, like, and like the Damon, um, like watches as you clearly, change, because you had been in
Mm-hmm.
this pacing, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, more relaxed, more real.
Mm-hmm.
And so it slowly settles from like crouch down to that kind of like one leg tucked under, like
Mm-hmm.
sitting, like still ready to leap up if necessary, but it's like,
Yeah.
gonna sit down, you guys are chill, I'm chill, we're gonna
Uh-huh.
sit on the
Yeah.
opposite ends here, and we're just gonna talk.
Like, well, then he will sit himself so that he doesn't seem, because
Yeah.
his like 7-foot
Right.
presence
Yeah.
in the astral is intense.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. So now
yeah,
you're,
he sits
on
down.
head level with Baba Sera.
Yeah.
Baba Sera, who's leaning on her cane and trying to
Mhm.
be as grandmotherly as possible, as spoopy Baba Sera can be. And it goes, because Craig, you'd said you'd seen what had happened, right? And it says, what has happened? Like, is as a question. It's like, what has happened?
They hurt you, not in they didn't not in the way that they hurt your body. They hurt you in worse ways than making you eat in front of them. And just calling back to that memory.
Mm-hmm.
We want to find out exactly what they did so that we can try and fix it, heal it. But more importantly, so that they don't ever do this to anyone else ever again.
There's a slow head nod. Harmed Jeremiah, broke Jeremiah, and you immediately recognize this is not speaking in third person, right? It's talking about Jeremiah, the actual the man, not the daemon, and harmed. And you can see it is struggling to dredge up vocabulary to even just talk with you. Heal Jeremiah. Enough.
Heal you both.
And no, they heal Jeremiah just enough.
Oh.
And you realize it is trying to give you what information it has. So yes, you've seen that they've harmed Jeremiah and done stuff to his Oneros and stuff like that, but also healed him just enough to keep him alive, right?
And
it's kind of
sane.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still able to function, even though they've made a mess of things in here.
Yep.
They left just enough that the internal processes can simulate a whole person.
Yep.
Now that it is quiet, we are away through telepathy.
Mm-hmm.
Legba says to Baba Sera, you might consider offering to him that we can make it quiet.
Would silence give you some relief in the short term? Would you like it to be quiet?
Like there's a smirk and it says quiet, nods and kind of walks up and like gently, like really very what you had just done to him, reaches out and touches your shoulders, and the both of you and the daemon are gone, and you're back at the crossroads. And all of a sudden the sound is died down to just that deep ticking. It goes, better. And you get sorry. So you get this perspective of, oh, this is who Jeremiah is, right? Jeremiah cares about other people, and but just has not been able to. He's just that's the life he has.
Yeah, he wasn't given the option,
right? And kind of like sits back and kind of draws back again, giving you guys space, and then settles back into what is like a chase chair made from the sugarcane. Just kind of falls back into the sugarcane and just kind of lounges. As like it is comfortable here within its own Neros, but you know, like this is just like this is the world it's accepted, and it's making the best of it, right?
Yeah.
Better.
Thank you. We sought to help you, but you were instead very kind to us.
You helped Jeremiah. Like already you can see like he's kind of coming around. Speech patterns are getting better. It's like, okay, yeah, I remember how to do this. You can see some of that.
Oh, and he now remembers who we are.
Well, no, it's more
that we
his...
helped Jeremiah's. Okay.
Oh, that is fair. Yeah. I think now that he's starting to actually see you, that's actually very true. I hadn't thought about that. But yeah, the daemon is very aware that you too were the ones to rescue
Yeah.
him. But yeah,
Mhm.
more specifically, I was saying the daemon's speech patterns. It's like, oh, I remember
Ooh.
how to talk. Yes, I can
Mm.
do this. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Starting to get the gears turning again.
Mhm.
Terrible metaphor right now. But yeah.
Hey.
Yep. But you help Jeremiah. I will help Jeremiah. You stop them. So no one else hurts like Jeremiah.
It would help us to stop them if we understood more what was done here.
Shakes its head. They rip and tore and cut. I could do nothing.
Legba tries to whisper to make sure that his typically booming voice doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like a threat. And it's sure it probably is still audible. And he says, they took out the memory of what happened. Did they take out the memory of who they are? Do you retain their faces? Do you retain their garments?
The scent,
Jeremiah did not see.
Hmm. What did he see it? Oh no, then to clarify, Legba says he did not see those who did things to him.
Jeremiah did not see those who cut or tore. I witnessed it. And just to clarify, because it's on Kurt's face,
Yes.
the daemon witnessed the ripping and tearing and the sudden, but
mhm.
didn't literally see the mages doing it, but
Gotcha.
just was there and is aware. But as far as the daemon knows, Jeremiah has no idea that he's missing anything.
Yeah.
He, there. I think you all talking with him is like, oh yeah, we have no memory. We don't know what happened. Like, and Jeremiah is unbothered by it. But
What is the last thing Jeremiah saw before the ripping and tearing? Face, clothing, heard something, words, sounds.
pain and sleep.
Yeah, correct. If Theo's barking up the wrong tree, feel free to jump in. Can you? I know this would be painful, but can you show us? We might get a clue.
No, no, because the daemon has Jeremiah's memories, right? The daemon
Mhm.
doesn't have separate memories. It just knows that there was that sensation, and this is from that border, right? There's this like, well, there was some pain, and then sleep was probably far more of passing out.
So, what was the first thing Jeremiah remembered after the tearing?
Hmm. I'm thinking through my own notes here of what I can say that is not about to be create a sudden giant plot hole. But yeah, in short, uh, yeah, waking with the the wounded leg and being told to work,
Mm.
Who,
and,
who told him to work?
the slave masters. Yeah, to
It was
to to paint the picture real quick.
sure.
The others who were rescued
Mhm.
have memories of Jeremiah being run over by a carriage and his leg
Yep.
being smashed up.
Mhm.
Jeremiah
Mhm.
has no memory of being hit by a
Yeah.
carriage.
And we know
Uh,
those
Mhm.
memories were planted anyway.
right. So oh my god, ADHD brain just completely lost a train of thought. So they have those memories, and so they just told him that's what happened, and so
Mhm.
he just kind of plot. Okay, that must have been what happened because where else would my leg have been broken? I'm just going to trust, and has in the couple days since then hasn't had any time to think about it. He's just been kind of limping along on the one good leg
Mhm.
and trying to work and not be beaten. He hasn't had time to think about what is going on, and then
Mhm.
he was rescued along with the others.
I know from our conversations that sometimes we remember more than we think we do. I'm, I'm hoping that whoever caused all this wasn't. I mean, they seem to have been pretty thorough, but maybe there's something we can enhance or pull out, or
I'm gonna let you know. Nah.
yeah,
But this, I know that this is out of character,
Sure.
right? But if Baba Sera is like musing on this, this is when Legba would say to Baba Sera and to Jeremiah Damon, Jeremiah Prime. I think that's what we were saying before, right? Cloak Prime,
Mhm.
that kind of thing.
mhm.
Um, he says, when we witnessed the absent and I explored those edges, I saw this, and then Legba, through telepathy, shares with Baba Sera an image of his understanding, right? A kind of like,
Mhm.
impulse, this like non-verbal communication of, hey, this is like an insight from the scrutiny. And
Mhm.
um, then he can, of course, then share that with her magically later, right? He could be like, I'm going to give you the
Mhm.
truth of this memory through Mind and Prime later. But for now, he's like, this is my understanding of it. And he says, I've come to appreciate that every time something like this occurs, it leaves an echo elsewhere in the Oneros, and it is hard to anticipate where that echo occurs.
Well, that was going to be my next idea. Maybe we can, because somebody's got to be thinking about this.
Yes.
But it,
What I mean is,
go ahead.
within his Oneros, there is likely some sound. What happened left that cacophony that we heard behind, even though that that event was no longer producing it directly. I would be surprised if there weren't echoes elsewhere in his Oneros, elsewhere here, that that represent at least the point at which his mind broke. That can help us restore it. And then what I wasn't able to tell you before is that once a memory is created, there is some truth to it. You can excise a memory from someone's mind, but you cannot erase a thing from having happened. It occurred. Just as though, just as, and this is when I'm just going to very quickly repeat the thing that I would have said, in character when we
Mhm.
could say it in character. He says, just as you've taught me that a soul fills a vessel and another soul can fill that vessel just as well. We can seek higher assistance that might provide it with a means to fill the hole that was left here.
I'm certainly willing to give that a shot. The only other idea I had was that somebody witnessed what happened,
Mm.
and that's got to be something that they're thinking about. So maybe, I mean, it's a
Oh.
super specific thing to track down in the astral,
Oh.
which would make
Legba
it
starts smiling.
harder to find. But
Also more fun.
true. But we know at least three people were involved in what happened to him.
Hmm.
So there's at least 3 people that are thinking about this, have that
Mm.
memory. I'm not the astral explorer that you are, but maybe there's a path there to get more information. But your idea sounds like it might be more expedient than sifting the astral for a specific little gem nugget of
Well,
information we're looking for.
well, if we were to seek supernal assistance and to say, I think there are two options in that regard with the vessel that we are both now able to appreciate. We can say, please fill this with what was there, or give us a connection to someone who still has one of these but is filled. And if our interest is finding the people as opposed to seeing what happened, I think we should ask for the latter, a full vessel.
A connection to
Or at
somebody
least,
else who has this memory from a
yes,
different
exactly.
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
That's very good imp. That's very good
Yeah.
imp kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's like, it's not the memory, it's not the person,
Somebody
it's
has
just
this
the
puzzle
connection to
piece.
somebody.
I like that.
Yes.
The
You
puzzle
need
piece.
connection to
Yeah.
this puzzle piece.
Yes.
The thing that would fill this hole. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Like that.
That sounds good. But I'm conscious as I say that there'll be a cost.
Yes.
It's always a trial.
There will be a trial.
Mhm.
This will be a big trial.
Okay.
With that, to the two of you, bid adieu to the daemon. Kind of
Yeah.
rouse
Can we say one
yourselves.
last thing to the Damon?
Of course.
You know us as those who have and will continue to help Jeremiah. If you, in the course of your help for Jeremiah that you have given him, need our assistance, you can compel him to request it, and we will provide it.
Like that. Get into his dreams,
Mhm.
bang around real loud, be like, you need to go
Yeah.
find those people again. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that.
Mhm.
And it nods. And it's like, okay, yep. You will make yourselves reachable is kind of the
Yes.
vibe. So
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
that.
Yep.
And you notice that in speaking with him, his form is still misshapen,
Mhm.
but more of Jeremiah's face is kind of recognizable, right? Some of that
Cool.
humanity, right, in the capital
Yes.
H kind of person
Mhm.
is kind of coming back to him. And that's kind of what you see as you guys kind of step out of your Oneros and back into your bodies.
Awesome.
Also, Craig, do you dispel the mind prime hallucination spell, or do you just keep that running for now?
Hmm. I'm definitely not going to cancel without saying thanks.
Okay. I like the idea of like you kind of coming back to yourself, looking around and seeing the walls start to melt again. And it's like, you know what? Thanks, appreciate your help. Hang up. Does that sound about right to you, Greg?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, the two of you kind of come back. Jeremiah is continuing to sleep peacefully and quietly. Legba ends the telepathy with him,
Mhm.
and like have a moment to stretch your legs, and I think this is where we even get to like Papa Legba going, "Oh right, I'm
Yeah.
here." It's like, "Oh, that's right,
Yes.
I've been here," kind of
Yes.
thing. It's like that's been unusual. I haven't had that in a
Yes.
while.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, it's shit. I got to spin up all these receptionists again, and
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
all these processes crashed. A couple are hung up.
Yeah. That's
Just
right.
You
might
are
as well
now
just reboot the
manually
whole
breathing.
system. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
um, and just like the sound of you two talking again, and
Mhm.
just the quiet like, "Yep, I'm back," kind of gentle kind of thing. And Mambo Etoile, kind of like draws back the curtain just a little bit and then sees that you both are
Yes.
like moving and not in ceremony, and kind of draws it back and
Mhm.
goes, ah, Petrichor came by and left a message for you for when you were complete. Is this a good moment?
Yes.
She and the visitor, guest, other,
Max.
not using that term yet.
Oh,
Helena?
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but yes, Helena.
Helena.
Legba
I,
asked with a slight, question.
mhm. But I think because she, Madame Etoile, Mambo Etoile, Madam,
Mambo Etoile.
knows you all as both names. Is like,
Yes.
do I call Helena?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what's the procedure here? But she,
she's between names. At the
right,
moment,
yeah. They, Petrichor said that they were flying to the plantation.
Legba opens his mouth.
Tonight.
Were?
This was. I'm acting as if she would have had watched.
Yeah, of course.
This couple hours ago.
Well,
the wheels are
Legba
turning.
remembers that
Theo's head
he's
is
supposed to be the great elocutioner.
Right. Yeah. Downside of the astral. Time is funny.
as long as I'm back by the time Catherine returns. And Theo offers her hand. Or pardon me, Baba Sera offers her hand.
Great. Fantastic.
Mambo Etoile looks in at Jeremiah and looks at the two of you like about ready to go, and she's like, I will summon assistance and we will make sure that Jeremiah it's like, yep. Superheroes are heading off to do things. Don't worry. Lois Lane and Jimmy will clean up.
And Baba Sera will turn and thank you for your assistance and give a bow.
Right.
Acknowledge.
Yeah. And I think, but especially because as part of the cult, right? Like she like even makes the hand motion. It's like, no, that's not necessary. We have our roles, right? And like bowing is like, thanks are appreciated, but I don't think we need bowing or kneeling or genuflection is necessary here. You do what only you can. We will do what we can.
But I still think it's important for me, and she touches her chest, to acknowledge that
Thank
with
you.
gratitude.
I think Mambo Etoile goes so far as to give you a quick hug and then a little push, like, all right, thank you, yes, good. I have stuff to do. I would like to go to bed. It's been a couple hours that I've been, sitting outside, probably on a little stool. And she doesn't have a smartphone to be looking at.
That's right.
She's been sitting there waiting. But yeah, I like that. And so the two of you, Astral Legba has a jaunt to make real fast.
Yes, exactly.
Through. Yep. But then, minutes later, truthfully, the two of you step through down at the riverside. Through and come out the other side of the near the same plantation. You're definitely like, because this is the astral and you were going to weird. A plantation. You didn't have like pinpoint, I'm going to this specific plantation, right? So you're like, okay, we're near-ish. And so we can figure this out, especially, space magic. It's like, we can take long steps.
And also he probably would have immediately tried to call up Petrichor through telepathy.
Yep. And yeah, the four of you reconvene with actually, hang on, let me go cross-reference exactly what Chris and Ash passed on.
And Baba Sera it occurs to me that given what we found, we should probably make a habit of collecting artifacts of significance from the plantations we visit.
I think that is a good idea.
I like that. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
Did
So
you just sign that, Greg? Did you just sign that?
Oh, yeah. My wife just
Yeah.
dropped off a.
Yeah.
Craig's done it for a while. It's always been super cute.
Do you sign this ASL or I think is there a Canadian?
Little tiny
I
bits
shouldn't
and
say
fragments and
ASL.
stuff. But
Okay, gotcha.
So the two of you step out, and then through telepathy, there's some coordination, and they have the advantage because they're flying literally with wings, and swoop in, and yes, you guys find yourselves soon after on the shores of the Mississippi, looking in at a moderately familiar plantation. You were here just the other day.
as they're coming in for landing, Baba Sera will just sort of under her breath, like, now if they can grow wings, but you turn one person into a zombie and it's the end of the world.
Legba looks at you and starts laughing and says, I think that's a point that we should bring up at the next coven meeting.
Yeah. It's like Legba would like to talk about peering into people's minds.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. But that is the whole other different perspective thing. So but yes, the four of you there, and notably for the two of you, Petrichor has already seen this. We see for the first time Helena holding forth a sword. And it's like,
Cool.
we now know what these two were up to. Like, you don't bust out a holy glowing. Actually, I think she technically has the forces for it, so it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, she doesn't
obviously
want it to.
magical.
She has forces 3, right? So
right. Well, I can't remember what her attainment does, so I'd have to look. But
it's platonic form, I think.
Right, but I don't remember the rules for her specific legacy, whether or not it would allow her. Right. Yeah.
Yes, fair enough. Yes, the forces can be incorporated in order to make it not seem magical.
Yep. But yes, busting out her legacy attainment and submarine forth a badass magical sword. And it's like, oh, okay, I think we might be about to fuck some shit up and investigate along the way. So that'll be really good.
Let's make sure we're not too hasty.
Yeah.
If only we had a time mage. Hey, listen, everybody. I know we're about to do some cool things and do a lot of fighting, but we can't miss out on the clues. So we need to somehow, just subjectively slow down time so that you can punch somebody in the face while dusting for fingerprints.
Time 2, we're able to get away with a couple things. So, yep. Very good stuff. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to my players. Yes, also, in case you were unclear, Chris and Ash aren't here, and it's okay. They're not dead.
Everything's fine. Nobody panic.
Yeah. They were just out of town, and we realized this was a really good opportunity for us to split up without actually splitting up. So they'll be back next week. Next episode. Because I'm not going to be here next week, and it'll be okay because that's why we were pre-recording all this stuff, and it works out really well. I get to go on a vacation for the first time in a while. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Craig and Ralph. This was really fun. We got to really dig in on the Oniro stuff, and as I mentioned to Chris, I was like, I am prepped for the intimate horror that mage can really let you do, and this was good. This was messed up, and we were able to treat it with some dignity and just like whoa. I all day I was like, okay, I can do this. I'm not gonna bitch out.
You did a great job.
So
no, you handled it really well.
So thank you to you guys. Thank you to our patrons. If you want to join that's staylucky.club. If you want to come hang out in Discord, that's www.yeetinto.space. And today I just feel particularly incentivized to shout out that you go look real history of the South and not just smile and nod at the antebellum South and the pretty white houses and stuff like that. Go see what actually happened. Doritos tacos lasted longer than the Confederacy. Just saying. Anyways, thank you all, and we will see you next week. Bye.
See you next time.